What if you don't need to live in pain and suffering? What if you could give up your karma and have a life of abundance and joy? What if you could start creating magic and miracles that you never thought were possible? Get ready to listen, share, and experience the magic that is you. Now, here's the host of Creating Abundance with Ease radio show, Dr. Helen Gitlevich.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease. And today our show topic is Being Ease with an amazing guest, Pam Houghteling, who is licensed clinical social worker and Access Consciousness certified facilitator, a businesswoman who's currently living in the United States while working globally. Pam has an amazing ability with handling people in all kinds of situations to create beyond conflict into possibility. She has worked with individuals, groups, and corporations to influence dynamic change. And today our show is, as I said, Being Ease. Do you work hard? Try all the time. What if there is a different choice? What if everything is easier than you think? Welcome, Pam. How are you today?
I am awesome today, Helen. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And I know you've done a lot of access consciousness and being a social worker and doing all kinds of work throughout the years. You're also being your facilitator, and I think you're a business facilitator, aren't you?
I am, yes.
So, and you've done a lot. I'm looking at your bio, and you also have been a co-host of Irreverent Therapist radio show with Marilyn Bradford, which is
right. We were on this station for a long time, years ago, doing the Irreverent Therapist, and we're looking at starting it up again. So I'm very excited about that.
So, can you tell me what actually started you on access consciousness and the journey that you are right now? Is there anything specific?
Yes, there was. And it's funny because our topic is being ease, and I hadn't thought about this, but, you know, my whole, the whole way I found access was because things were not ease for me, and I was looking for something different. I was actually doing a network marketing business, selling kind of health and wellness products, and I had noticed over a couple of years, well, one thing was, whenever I actually was putting energy and attention into creating my business, it created. But it was not easy for me. It was something where I had to pick up the phone and call people, and, you know, I didn't want to be seen as selling things and like all this stuff. And so I would get myself wrapped up in anxiety and worry about things. And sometimes I'd have to go out and hike for like 2 hours before I could get myself to come and sit down at my desk and pick up the phone and do things. And one of the things I noticed was kind of every time my business got, I'd say, too successful, I'd slow it down or stop it. There was definitely what I was comfortable with and what I wasn't comfortable with. And when I started seeing this pattern, and, you know, you might say, well, how would you slow it down? I would get sick. My kids would get sick. Like, you know, life things would get in the way. And I was like, okay, this is not just things getting in the way. This is me choosing this. I don't know if you've ever been in a space like that yourself.
Oh, never.
And I'm sure nobody listening has either.
Yeah,
right?
Nobody has been in the same boat. Oh, it was constant for me. It's like stopping and starting and doing all kinds of things to jeopardize whatever I was creating. So how did you get out of that?
Well, I looked for coaches to work with, people to help me look at, you know, what I was doing with my business and the pattern I was seeing. And one of them took some took some access classes, and she came back and taught us, it was like a group coaching thing, and she taught us two tools, the access clearing statement, which you use to clear points of view, and who does this belong to, which used to be aware of like, oh, I'm massively aware of things. It's not all mine. With those two tools, in 2 weeks, I went from working 18 hours a week and struggling and being miserable to working about 5 to 7 hours a week, creating the same amount and without all the angst. Because I'd go to pick up the phone and all the, I'm worried and what are they going to say and what am I going to say and blah, 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 struggle. I'd pick up the phone and go, oh, who does this belong to? And not mine. And I'd call somebody. So I was able to like do the same work in a much shorter amount of time and with ease with these two tools. And then the coach was like, go get your bars run. There's this thing called bars, and it's a body process, and go do that. And so I found someone who was doing a bars class back then. This was 12 years ago. So there was one facilitator who would come through New Mexico once a year to visit his mother and do a bars class. And it just happened to be a couple of weeks later. So I got to go to bars and the classes that were then called Foundation and Level 1, and it just completely changed my life. I found like most everything that I was suffering with, whether it was physical or emotional or whatever, the tools of access helped me unlock and change it. And that's how I got started. And in the very first bars class, I still remember it was basically everything coming out of the facilitator's mouth. It was like what I've always known and didn't have the words for and didn't have the way forward with. And as soon as he would say it, it's like, yes, yep, this is what I know. This is what I'm choosing. And it started me using these tools on a daily basis and, having way more ease in everything, in relationships and business and work and money, all kinds of things.
Wow, such a difference, especially working only 5 hours a week instead of 18, because I know what it looks like working 18 or actually 24/7 when I was a doctor. Which is now totally different. I would like to ask you, because a lot of people confuse ease and easy. Yeah. Could you kind of like from your own perspective talk about that difference? Because people say, oh, easy. But then when they get to access, it's not always easy, but there is an ease to that. So what is that? And what's the difference?
Well, I think a lot of times when people hear ease, they think comfort, like I'm going to be comfortable and everything's going to be fine and there'll be no problems and everything's going to work perfectly. So as I say that, does that even sound interesting to you? I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so boring.
Totally boring.
So it's not that, but it's also like there is no problem. So let me actually just give you some examples. So my mother-in-law was somebody who was in some ways a wonderful person, and she was not easy at all.
Wow.
And
mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law issues. No, and she would blow up out of the blue, extreme fury with, and there was never anything that was like, oh, well, this is one of her hot topics, so if I say this, that'll make her blow up. It was literally out of the blue that she would do this. And I spent lots of time in my head talking with her, like, if only I'd said this, next time I'm going to say that, blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm sure no one else listening ever argues with, talks to, or tries to handle things in their head. And that was a big part of, and my husband and I, we would strategize together of like, how are we going to handle his mother? So there was a huge amount of energy and angst going into the relationship, right? And I went off, took these classes, and I came back, and one of the access tools is interesting point of view. It's like, it's just somebody's point of view. It's not right or wrong. You're not right or wrong. It's just a point of view. So we were all having dinner, and I was chatting with my son, who I hadn't seen in a week. And somehow that ticked off in her this sense of being abandoned or something. She got so mad that my son and I, who was 7, were just chatting a lot to each other and blew up. And whereas before I would have been like defending me, defending my kid, mad at her, like how dare she be this way, if only she wasn't this way, that kind of thing. I just looked at her, Helen, it was like, I looked at her, I was like, gosh, that is so interesting that she's choosing this. And
Wow.
I had no reaction. I need to now, it was just, oh my God, this is so interesting. And I did something like nod my head or say, okay, or like, something that acknowledged she'd said something, but I had no resistance to it, no fight. And she wound down in 30 seconds. It was like, it was like a balloon deflating. She was just like, didn't know what to do with me not reacting, right? So that's ease. It didn't make her stop being somebody who would blow up, but I had ease with it.
And plus, it didn't last that long, because when people blow up, they continue. If you resist to that, if you engage in that argument, they keep going. But when there was no resistance, it was just like you being there, kind of like, okay, cool, you're blowing up, fine, interesting. But there was no resistance. There was no wall that she could push against. So everything just deflates. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's the ease we're talking about, correct?
Exactly. And I can give you another example. So a year ago, a pipe in my house burst and, and it flooded, like it flooded an entire room in the basement, right? And, my husband had died years ago, but there's still something about house stuff that when that comes up, I go to this pathetic, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to repair things. And what was really funny is he didn't either, right? But somehow when there was 2 of us, it was like worked, but I was like, oh, I'm not in this alone. So anyway, so my immediate thing was, oh my gosh, house stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. And, it turns out I have a kind of piping in my house that's been recalled. So I had to look at all these different things. And I will tell you, Helen, I was being pathetic. I was being at the effect of everything and not using these tools. So that is not ease, right? And I wallowed in that for, a week maybe. And then I started using the tools and being like, oh, okay, actually, I probably know more about house stuff than he ever did. And I can totally handle this and everything. And I changed it. Well, a week ago, something leaked in my house. And I had that initial, oh my gosh, house stuff. Maybe it's that faulty plumbing thing and but this time it lasted 15 minutes. And I used the tools and I was like, okay, Pam, actually, what are you aware of here? And I called the plumber that I trusted and and he was going to come next week. And I was like, that doesn't work for me. Last time I ignored a leak, the whole basement flooded. So he came out that night. And so what I would say is from the space of ease, I handled it, right? And I didn't make it a problem. It was just, okay, this is going on. What next? And so, when I judged it a year ago as this horrible thing, I don't know what I'm doing and what if something's wrong with my house and blah, 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 blah. Then it was this big problem and I suffered with it and I struggled with it and I had, bad days and things like that. A year later, having gone, worked on my points of view about me and being alone in my house and stuff, it was just like, oh, a little inconvenient. And how awesome that I'm home, I'm not traveling, I'm, easy to handle it. So that to me is the ease. It's where you're not piling all this meaning and significance and judgment and stuff on top of what's going on, and then you're able to just see what is and choose and act.
Exactly. And it's time for our first break of the show. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Dr. Helen Gitlevich on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we'll return, we'll continue to discuss being ease with our amazing guest, Pam Houghteling. And we'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736. Or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease. And today our show topic is Being Ease with amazing guest Pam Houghteling. And before we went on the break, we were talking about how different is life if you use access tools such as interesting point of view or not resisting and reacting to people's outburst of anger. So, Pam, how was that for you? And what tools are your favorite in your life? Like, I know different situations ask for different tools, and we've talked about interesting point of view. But are there any specific other tools that you love and maybe people can use it in their lives as well?
Yes. Well, I mean, every tool I love.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things for me is it's not which tool, it's the choice to use a tool. So if I'm, you know, all like contracted and miserable, you know, like I was over my house a year ago, it's that moment where you go, oh, I can stay in this, or I can do something that shifts the energy here. And that to me is what all these access tools are, is they're ways of shifting and changing the energy so that you have available a different choice. So where I like to start when I'm really in the midst of stuff, what I start with is there's these 4 questions. And so what I want to do is, like, anybody who's listening kind of get the of something going on in your life that you're struggling with. Okay? And then I'm going to ask these 4 questions, and that's, what is this? What can I do with it? Can it change? And if so, how can I change it? Now, when I'm asking those questions, just notice, did anything change in how you are? Like maybe how your body feels, how you feel. If you look at that angst thing that you were thinking of, did anything shift a little bit?
Wow. For me, it actually did shift something, because I was thinking of something and it's lightened up, almost like moving stuff out of my body.
Yeah. And that's what I do. So those 4 questions, and now when you're asking them, you're not looking for, what is this? Oh, now I have to identify what this is. What can I do with it? Now I have to think of 10 things I can do with it. It's in Access, when you ask, we always are talking about asking questions, because when you ask a question, it opens the door to awareness of what's going on, what's possible. It actually creates possibilities that didn't exist before you asked the question. So, and a question isn't, I'm so terrible, what's wrong with me? I've already decided that I'm wrong, and I've judged myself as wrong, and I'm putting a question mark on the end of it, right? But a true question, and that's what these 4 questions are. So when you ask those, it's creating awareness, creating space. You're not looking for the answer. You're just asking to shift the energy. And so I do that. I'll be like, what is this? What can I do with it? Can it change? If so, how do I change it? That, it's like my body takes a breath, I have a little more space, a little more ease, and then another tool will pop into my head, like, oh, okay, I'm going to ask, who does this belong to? Or I'm going to use the clearing statement. So to me, it's not that this particular situation requires this particular tool. It's, I'm in contraction, or I'm in angst, or I'm in, judgment, I'm stuck. It's the choice to use a tool creates more space, and then I use another tool, creates more space. And, I usually pretty quickly get to whatever it is that is going on, really shifts and changes.
Yeah. So basically that's part of creating that being is in your life. We talked about the is part, but there is also that being part. And I know you're being your facilitator. So let's talk a little bit about being. Being is.
Yeah.
Not just is, but being is. What does it mean? Because people not familiar with access consciousness might look at it and say, what the fuck? Pretty much like that.
What are these crazy women talking about?
Exactly. So what is being, and being is specifically?
Well, to me, being is the energy I'm being. I can be an energy of hating my mother-in-law and resisting and reacting to everything she's saying, and struggling, or I can be the space and the energy of allowance, interesting point of view, ease. It's how I choose to be in the world, and it's a choice. And if I can choose crap, I can also choose ease.
Mm-hmm. So it's a choice. Because a lot of people would tell you, I don't have a choice. I cannot choose my emotions. How can I choose my reactions? And a lot of them are actually like stuck in that point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the way to me, when I look at the access tools that you and I both use all the time, right? There's the ones that are about getting rid of the limitations and the judgments and the points of view, the things that you're been choosing that are interfering or limiting what you can be in the world and what you can choose. And then there's tools that are about like generating and creating your life and living as you would like it to be, right? So,
Right.
So to me, like we all always have choice. We just pile so much stuff on top of it that you think you don't. And so tools like the clearing statement, so the Access clearing statement, you can go to theclearingstatement.com, and it's in lots of languages. You can hear about what it is and how to use it. But it's basically, like it's words that shift the energy and clear, change, make it as though it wasn't ever there, points of view and judgments and things like that. So if I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I have no choice, this is the way I am, I will start using the clearing statement everywhere I decided that, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I talked about having, my moment of totally no point of view with my mother-in-law. I have to say, there were times I wasn't being that there was another time, like my son was choosing to be vegetarian. And again, we're talking like a 9-year-old or something, right, at that time. And like I said something, and basically she blew up about Ben's eating choices, right? And like, okay, didn't see that coming. Yeah. That time I fought it. I was so pissed. But what it really was is I was judging myself for Ben, because he was vegetarian, but basically what he would eat is bread and cheese. Like the kid lived on bread and cheese. So
oh my God,
I was
that's
like,
totally
oh my gosh,
familiar.
I'm a terrible mother, So what her thing tapped into my judgment of myself, and so I reacted for about 2 minutes. And then I was like, what am I doing? And I went to interesting point of view, and it dissipated, right? So it's like...
Exactly. It's not about being perfect. And it's our time for our second break of the show. So when we'll return, we'll discuss more of not being perfect and just choosing something different that works for us. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, and today with Pam Houghteling, and we'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Magic and abundance are everywhere. What if you could tap into abundance and start creating your life with complete and total ease? Working with Dr. Helen Gitlevich will give you exactly that, total ease in creating abundance in your life. Dr. Gitlevich creates classes all over the world, both in person and online. She works with you to create abundance with your money, with your body, with your relationships, with all areas of your life with total ease. Connect with Dr. Helen Gitlevich at creatingabundancewithease.com. Her contribution in your world will be a noticeable gift in a very short period of time.
This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g at att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is Being Ease with our guest, Pam Houghteling. And before we went on the break, we were talking about not having a choice or having poor choices and the no-choice universe. Pam, I think you have something else to add to that topic?
Yeah, so, when you're saying, what about people who feel so stuck and that they don't have a different choice? And what I'd say is try any of these tools that we talk about today and just use it and see what happens. Because I didn't go overnight from having a lot of angst and struggle and feeling like I didn't have a lot of choices to being the space of ease. It's like I said, the choice to use a tool, and any tool, and see what it creates. And so just the way we ask those 4 questions, whether it's that or who does this belong to, and it lightens up and it's not yours, or use the clearing statement, any of these things we're talking about, just try it. They're very pragmatic tools. And what you're after is what creates more lightness and more ease in your universe. So if you use a tool and it starts creating that, awesome. It doesn't mean it's the right tool. It doesn't mean you're getting it right. It's not about getting it right, getting it wrong. It's that choice to change something and using a tool to do it. And then what I found is the more I've used this, then I trust it. I trust that I know what I'm aware of, and I trust that I know what my choices are creating. But it didn't come overnight.
No, it doesn't. It's about actually playing with the tools, using them. And a lot of times it's not even for us, because we choose things. Every choice creates something. So we can create crap, or we can create something that actually works for us. And then kind of like not having a choice, because I remember years ago when somebody says, but you have a choice. And I said, I don't have a choice. And it took 2 years for me to even realize that I have a choice. So with those people, it's about just playing with that. You might not have a choice right now, or you don't see that choice, that infinite possibility that's possible. And yet, it's still possible. And I know there are still some people who are not willing to get out of their whatever they're in, their problem, their suffering, their pain. Because maybe they learn that from their parents, maybe they learn it from somebody else, or maybe it works for them. So I know with a lot of people trying to help those people creates a no-choice universe as well.
Yes.
So it's about choosing who you are willing to help and who is willing to receive the help that you have. That's another thing that I'd like to talk about, because that's also being ease. How often do we actually trying to help somebody who doesn't desire help, or resist and react to that, or pushes us away? Have you seen that in your practice or in your family?
Yes. Actually, there's somebody very close to me, and at one point he said, it's like I can't have things be too easy. As soon as it starts getting easy, I have to find something to worry about or something to make into a problem. And and he had the awareness to have that insight, but he felt like him when he had the anxiety. And so when he didn't know what to do, and he'd recreate it. So, what you're talking about is, like a lot of times we can see what's possible for someone. That doesn't mean they're choosing it. or that they will choose it. And what you want is to be present with what is, not what you would like it to be. So if I'm, if my partner is, choosing this, and this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here's a few tools. If you would only use those, then your whole life would change. I'm being a superior asshole right there because I'm saying, oh, I know what you need. This is going to fix you. Whereas a different perspective is they're an infinite being choosing what they're choosing and having allowance of that, not going along with it, not buying into it, but just knowing they have choice. I can invite them to something different, but it's their choice.
Exactly, because that's the being is. Because when we are trying to change them, to push them, that's not ease, that's not easy, and that's not being. So it's about being in total allowance. And again, that's wonderful tools that you started with, interesting point of view, plays an amazing role in that. They have an interesting point of view, we have the interesting point of view. And the more we use that, the more it opens up. Pam, can I ask you, where can people find you? Because I know you do a lot of classes.
Well, so my website is www.pamhoughteling.com, and that's PamHoughteling. It's a big mouthful of a name.
Yeah, it will be on the podcast in the description. We'll have your website, your emails, and I think you have a gift for people who are listening now or who will be listening later, correct?
Correct. Yes. So when you go to my website and sign up for my email list, I have the free gift is a Zoom I did called Earth Talks. So a lot of what I do has to do with the earth and facilitating people around what they're aware of with the earth. Because a lot of times awareness of things going on with the earth comes up as physical stuff for us. So it's definitely a call about creating ease with you and your body and the earth. So, and then all the events I have coming up and stuff are there too.
Cool. Yeah, and I think they can download it by signing up to your newsletter, if that's correct.
Correct.
Yeah. And I know your newsletters are amazing as well, with a lot of information there. So don't sign up if you don't desire any change in your life. Because it will definitely change your life and create more ease. Pam, let's talk a little bit about life before you had the tools of access and life now and life in the future. Okay. Kind of like, what's the difference? And I know for me it's a huge difference, like totally. But for you, how do you see the difference between life before access, life now? And then we'll talk about what you see yourself in the future.
Okay. So what I would say is I actually had a really, really good life before I ever got introduced to access. I had been an absolutely miserable, depressed, suicidal, anxious mess of a child and teenager and young adult. And I had done everything I could find to change that. And I had, like, by the time I was, in my 30s and 40s, I was creating a life that really worked for me. So, and I still had things like my mother-in-law and my anxiety about work, stuff like that, But I was someone who was really, like, looking at what would I like my life to be and creating that. So it's funny that you're asking this, because when I look at what changed with the access tools, I would say ease. It gave me an ease with everything, and the knowing that I can truly change and create anything. time and time again, there's been what seemed impossible, and I used these tools, and I changed it, and I created it, and then so that it's like there's nothing that I define as a problem, unless it's like that moment when the pipes burst and I go into it for a few minutes. But mostly, like, those moments are very rare and very short. And I use the tools. So it's like anything that's going on. COVID hits. Okay, cool. You know, income's down 75%. Cool. What else is possible? Asking questions, creating, rather than, oh no, this is terrible. What am I going to do? I think it gives me this resiliency to know that whatever it is that's going on, I have choice, and with choice, I can change things and create different.
Cool. That's amazing. And we talk a lot in Access about ask. You ask and you shall receive. So what is your ask for the next, let's say, 5 years in your life?
Well, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit and talk about having a bigger ask. Because, you know, when your ask is, I want to get my bills paid, or, you know, I want to find a partner, or like those kinds of things, for a lot of us, that's actually not enough. It's not a big enough ask. And when you're willing to have a bigger, greater ask, it actually, to me, then creation is much easier. So I know, I mean, you're a 3-day body facilitator, so you facilitate one of the Access classes called a 3-day body class. And then after you've taken that, you can take the advanced body class. And I was in an advanced body class, and this is where people are trading energy, body energy work. And a few days into the class, there's usually this like amazing peace and space. And I was sitting there, and they were talking about, like, what would you like to create in the world? And what hit me was like, what if every kid going to school, it could be this space? Rather than, and because my daughter was in high school, and, you know, like just walking into the school when you're an aware person and you're very, you know, clued into energies as she is not an easy place to be. And so it was that. It was like, what if this was available around the world, this space and ease of being, and being with your body and your body being, and being with the earth. And so I would say that's my big ask, is what can I contribute and bring to the world that creates more and more of that. And then, you know, things like creating my business, creating my family, creating, like, all of that is part of contributing to that creation.
Wow, that's amazing, because that's actually exactly what can change our lives. And this is time for our third and final break of the show. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we'll continue to discuss that amazing ask that you, Pam, suggested, of that ease and joy in the world. We'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Magic and abundance are everywhere. What if you could tap into abundance and start creating your life with complete and total ease? Working with Dr. Helen Gitlevich will give you exactly that, total ease in creating abundance in your life. Dr. Gitlevich creates classes all over the world, both in person and online. She works with you to create abundance with your money, with your body, with your relationships, with all areas of your life with total ease. Connect with Dr. Helen Gitlevich at creatingabundancewithease.com. Her contribution in your world will be a noticeable gift in a very short period of time.
This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is Being Ease with our amazing guest, Pam Houghteling. And before we went on the break, we were talking about that being ease as asking for it to be that space in the world for everyone, not just when we're using the tools of access, but just changing the whole world. And the only way we can change the world is by being us. So, Pam, when you started talking about being ease, and everybody in schools, at work, having that ease, and immediate question is like, how? But there is no how, is it?
Well, okay, so let's do this. So everybody listening, just if you're somewhere you can, just close your eyes and just take a moment, be aware of your body. Maybe it's sitting on a chair, whatever you're doing, you're breathing. And now I'm going to ask you to, whatever it is that to you is you, right? That maybe it's you and your body, maybe for you, you're a little more than your body, but whatever that is, that awareness, I want you to expand it out 100 feet in every direction. So down into the ground, up into the sky, out in every direction. And then what if you expand your awareness 100 miles in every direction? And notice your head might go, wait, I don't know how to do that, but you actually do, and you did the moment I said it. And then expand out 100,000 miles in every direction, or even 100 million miles in every direction. And then I want you to pull energy from, and again, you just ask and it does it, pull it from all over the universe, through the earth, and through you and your body. And just ask that energy to flow. Again, from all over the universe, through you, through your body. Now, from this space, is there an angst in your life, or does it all become very, 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 very small in relation to this space that you can be?
It becomes very small.
Yeah. And this is something you can do anytime, right? Okay, I'm having a moment. Okay, stop, breathe, and expand your awareness out to be 100,000 miles in every direction and pull energy from the universe through the earth and through you, and then take a look at whatever it is. And but it's, let me ask this. So if you chose to be this space for 1 minute a day, what would that create in the world? A little or a lot?
Yeah, and when we change ourselves, when we be that energy, it actually changes everything around us.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Dane here wrote a book, Being You, Changing the World. And this is what it's about. It's like your choice to be that contracted, angry, resistant reaction kind of thing, like where I went with sometimes with my mother-in-law, you know, or that choice to be this space. Like that's where it's just a choice. And every time you choose to be space rather than the contracted crap pile of shit stuff, it doesn't just change you, it changes the energy around you and the people around you. And, you know, and I don't mean it's like, oh, I'm going to change everyone around me, but it invites them to a different possibility. There's been so many times that I've just taken a moment to do this, what we just did with expanding, and it changes, everybody around me eases up. So I think it's a muscle, right? It's like the more you do this, the easier it is. And you can keep doing it and just be more space more of the time.
Exactly. And I know our show is coming to the end, but it's not the last show. And you have some classes coming up, don't you? Which classes are coming up soon?
Well, I think the most relevant thing is on Thursday night, which is tomorrow night, in the U.S., I have a telecall starting calling Having Ease with Life. And then I also have a book club based on the Lady book and foundation class.
Wow. And it's all on your website, correct?
All on my website under upcoming events, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm so grateful for you coming to that show. And we still have a couple of minutes, or 2.5 minutes to be exact. So in the last couple of minutes, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's coming up next week. Next week is going to be just me, and then we'll have another guest, Craig Lassell. Next week, we'll be talking about joy and ease, or pain and suffering, which is kind of like ties in with today's show, where we will explore more of why and how people choose pain and suffering over the ease and joy. And we've known that, Pam, that some people do choose that, right?
Yeah, they do. And, you know, the thing to me is it's always a choice.
It's always a choice. So that's going to be next week. I'm also going to be facilitating some classes around the world. I'm in Chicago. I'm in U.S. right now, and hopefully we'll be able to travel in November. In October, I'll be doing 3-day body class in Chicago, and then in November, there would be body class in Taiwan and in England, if those countries will allow the traveling. Meanwhile, in Chicago, will be facelift on 21st. With everything that's going on in the world, I just would like maybe do the expansion that Pam suggested and expand again, because some of you, I noticed, contracted again when I started talking about traveling and COVID and all of those topics. So why don't we just expand? And instead of pain and suffering, let's concentrate more on joy, on ease, on being ease, and gratitude for our body, for our being, and for everything that we have in our lives, instead of concentrating on what we don't have. So with all of that, I just want to say thank you for listening, thank you for being here, and thank you for choosing more. And we will see you, or not see you, but you'll be listening to me next week, and with the same gratitude. We'll see you later. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Creating Abundance with Ease radio show. Dr. Helen Gitlevich will return next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have fun using the tools of the week in your life and start creating magic